99.9% of men think women are drawn to looks, money, or clever lines. But the truth is different. What truly pulls her in runs much deeper. It is symbolic, emotional, almost hidden. It lives in your tone, in your pauses, in the way your eyes hold steady, in the calm weight of silence. This is not advice. This is an art. An art whispered by history, sharpened by Machiavelli, and feared because of its power. Words can be weapons, and in the wrong hands, they can destroy. But in the right hands, they can awaken a fire inside her that she cannot explain. What you are about to learn is not a game. It is a psychology of attraction so subtle, so dangerous, that once you use it, she will remember you long after you are gone. Desire is not random. Most men believe women are drawn to simple things, good looks, money, or clever lines. They think attraction is random, like luck, as if some men are just born with it. But the truth is far older, far deeper, and far darker than that. Desire is not random. Desire follows rules, and these rules are older than history itself. They are woven into human survival, buried in instincts far beneath words and reason. A woman's attraction is not about what you give her on the surface, your compliments, your gifts, your endless effort. It is about what you project without trying, the way you carry yourself, the way your voice holds weight, the pauses you leave between words, the silence you command without fear. Because here is the secret. It is never just about the words. It is about the delivery. Think of it this way. Two men speak the same phrase. One says, "I enjoyed talking to you," with nervous laughter, eyes on the ground, voice rushed. Forgettable. The other says the exact same words slowly, calmly, eyes steady, with a pause that feels heavy. She feels it in her chest before she even understands it in her mind. Same words, different delivery, different impact. Desire does not grow from what is clear and obvious. It grows from what makes her imagine. And imagination is where real desire is born. Machiavelli understood this law of human nature. People are not moved by logic alone. They are moved by symbols, by signals, by what their minds interpret between the lines. Women especially are pulled not by what you state directly, but by what you make them feel in the spaces between your words. Your tone is a bridge, your pauses are invisible touches, your silence is not emptiness, it is presence. Each one carries weight, and it is that weight, not the content of your speech, that draws her deeper. This is why men who try too hard to impress fail. They speak too much, explain too much, reveal too much. They kill the mystery, they kill the imagination, and with imagination gone, desire dies. But the man who speaks less, who lets his words breathe, who knows when to hold a pause, this man awakens something ancient in her. She begins to feel tension, curiosity, and a fire that grows not from what he said, but from what he left unsaid. This is why desire is not random. It is a law that rewards control, presence, and silence more than any clever line. And the man who learns this law stops chasing women with words and starts drawing them in with presence. The power of suggestion. Machiavelli knew a timeless truth. The strongest form of power is never in declaring, it is in implying. The same law applies in the realm of desire. A woman's attraction is not set on fire by what is obvious, by what is said too clearly, or by what is explained without mystery. Her desire burns in the shadows, in the unspoken, in what she is left to imagine. Think about it. Words are cheap, promises are common, compliments are everywhere. Every man uses them, and because they are common, they lose their weight. But suggestion, that is rare. Suggestion is where imagination is forced to do the work. And imagination, once awakened, is far more powerful than any direct declaration. The most unforgettable men are not the ones who flood her with flattery or try to convince her of their worth. No, these men are quickly forgotten because they leave nothing for her mind to hold on to. The men who stay in her thoughts are the ones who leave things half said, the ones who make her wonder what they truly mean. They speak in ways that spark questions instead of giving answers. Why does this work? Because when she imagines you, she invests in you. Her own mind becomes your ally. Once her imagination begins filling in the blanks, the emotions she feels are no longer about what you said. They are about what she created inside herself. And emotions that come from her imagination cut deeper than anything you could force through direct words. Picture this. One man says, "You're beautiful." She smiles politely, but she has heard it 1,000 times before. Another man looks at her with a faint smile and says, "You have an energy I can't quite figure out." Suddenly, her mind starts racing. What does he mean? What does he see? Why can't he explain it? That mystery lingers long after the moment passes. This is the power of suggestion. It is not about giving her certainty, it is about giving her curiosity. It is about planting a seed of doubt, a spark of wonder, a silent question she cannot stop thinking about. Machiavelli understood that people are controlled more by what they fear, what they hope, and what they imagine than by what they are told directly. When you declare, the game ends. When you imply, the game begins. And in the world of desire, the man who implies, who suggests, who hints at something just out of reach, he is the man who becomes unforgettable. Because she is not obsessed with what you said. She is obsessed with what she thinks you meant. The stage of the mind. Her mind is a stage, and every time you speak, you are stepping onto it. Every word becomes a scene. Every pause becomes a spotlight. Every gesture becomes part of the story she is telling herself about you. But here is the truth. Your words themselves are not the main actors. They are only costumes. What matters most is your delivery, the way you carry the words, the energy behind them, the rhythm you set. Imagine this. Two men say the exact same phrase. "I enjoyed talking to you." The first man says it quickly, with a nervous laugh. His voice is weak. His eyes drop to the ground. The line vanishes as soon as it is spoken, forgotten before it lands. The second man says it differently, slowly, calmly. His eyes hold steady, his voice carrying quiet weight. He lets silence hang for a moment after the words, as if they meant more than what was spoken. Suddenly, the same phrase feels heavy. She feels it in her body. She replays it in her mind even after he is gone. Same words, completely different impact. This is the stage of her mind. She does not remember every word you speak, but she always remembers how you made her feel when you spoke them. And feelings are shaped not by content, but by presence. Most men fail because they believe communication is about piling on more words, trying to impress with endless talking. But what they don't realize is this. The more you talk without presence, the less impact you have. You crowd the stage, you clutter the scene, you kill the tension. The men who succeed speak differently. They speak less, but each word carries weight. They know how to use pauses. They know how to let silence speak louder than noise. They understand that tone, rhythm, and energy matter more than clever lines. This is why women sometimes say, "That man has something I can't explain." It's not his words. It's not even his looks. It's the way his presence fills the stage of her mind. It's the way he uses space, silence, and intention. It's the way his words feel alive, as if they carry more than meaning, as if they carry a secret. Machiavelli understood that true influence is not in what is obvious, but in what is felt without explanation. And the men who master this become unforgettable. Because she may forget what you said. She may forget the exact moment. But she will never forget how you made her feel when you stood on the stage of her mind. Less is more. Most men fail for the same reason. They talk too much. They explain too much. They reveal too much. They ask too much. They think attraction is built by giving more attention, more compliments, more long stories. They believe if they flood her with words, she will see their value. But in the feminine world, the law is the opposite. Less is always more. Why? Because desire is not born from clarity, it is born from ambiguity. The more you reveal, the less she imagines. And when there is nothing left to imagine, there is nothing left to feel. Think about the stories or films that stay in your mind the longest. Are they the ones that explained every detail, every ending, every motive? Number. The ones you remember are the ones that left something unsaid, something unresolved, something that made you think long after the lights went out. That is the difference between being forgotten and becoming unforgettable. It is the same in attraction. When she doesn't know everything about you, her mind begins to work on its own. She fills the silence with questions. She fills the pauses with meaning. She builds images in her head about who you are, what you want, and what you might be hiding. And what she imagines will always be stronger, more exciting, and more personal than anything you could have explained directly. This is why men who try to prove themselves always fail. They lay all their cards on the table too early. They reveal their entire story in one night, desperate to be understood. They explain away their silence instead of letting it breathe. They crush the tension instead of letting it grow. In their attempt to be fully known, they destroy the mystery. And without mystery, desire dies. But the men who understand the law of less is more behave differently. They do not rush to fill every silence. They do not explain every choice, every thought, every detail. They allow space. They let her imagination do the work. A single unfinished sentence can hold more weight than an entire explanation. A pause can feel more intimate than 100 compliments. One subtle look, held at the right time, can create more tension than a flood of words. Machiavelli knew this principle in politics and in power. People are more drawn to what they cannot fully have, to what they cannot fully define. Scarcity breeds value. Mystery breeds desire. So, speak less, reveal less, suggest more. Because when she imagines, she begins to feel. And when she begins to feel without knowing why, you have already won. The deadly mistakes. There are certain mistakes that kill attraction instantly. They are small, often invisible in the moment, but powerful enough to destroy desire in seconds. Most men make them without even realizing, and then wonder why her interest fades, why the spark dies, why she suddenly becomes distant. The first mistake is seeking approval. Asking questions like, "Do you like me?" or "Are you bored talking to me?" seems harmless, but beneath them lies desperation. In that moment, you are not showing presence. You are begging for validation. You place her in the position of judge and yourself in the position of the one waiting for permission to be worthy. No woman desires the man who kneels emotionally. She may pity him, but pity is not attraction. The second mistake is over-explaining yourself. Men think they can prove their value by making sure she understands them. They say things like, "I'm talking this way because I'm respectful, I don't want you to think badly of me." But to her unconscious mind, this does not sound respectful. It sounds like an apology. And a man who apologizes for his presence, who justifies his existence, loses his frame. The third mistake is revealing wounds too soon. Pouring out your pain, your past traumas, your heartbreak stories early on does not build connection. It creates heaviness. It places her in the role of comforter instead of the role of admirer. A man who leaks his emotions too quickly shows he cannot carry his own weight. And if he cannot carry himself, how can he be trusted to carry her? The fourth mistake is speaking without rhythm. Talking too fast, too flat, or without pauses destroys tension. Desire needs contrast. It needs shadows and silence. A man who rushes his words, who never lets silence breathe, comes across as nervous, as robotic, as forgettable. But a man who uses pauses, who speaks slowly with weight, turns each word into a weapon. All these mistakes share one root: need. And as Machiavelli warned, the one who shows need loses power. When you seek approval, you show need. When you over-explain, you show need. When you reveal your wounds too soon, you show need. When you speak without control, you show need. And nothing kills desire faster than the scent of need. The solution is not to become cold or silent, but to become deliberate. Speak with intention, not for validation. Reveal yourself slowly, not desperately. Hold silence with strength, not fear. When you do this, you become the rare man who carries no need, no apology, no desperation. And that is the man she remembers. The frame of power. Every conversation has a frame. It may be invisible, but it is always there. And the one who controls the frame controls the attraction. What is the frame? It is the hidden position you speak from, the unspoken context that defines the meaning of your words. Two men can say the same thing, but one speaks from weakness and the other speaks from power. And she will always feel the difference. If you speak from need, if your tone carries desperation, if your body language seeks approval, she feels it instantly. Even if your words sound confident, the hidden frame betrays you. But if you speak from calm strength, if your tone is steady, if your presence feels unshaken, she feels that too. The words may be the same, but the frame transforms them. Think of it this way. Imagine two men saying, "I like you." The first man says it nervously, hoping for a reaction, hoping to be liked back. His frame is weak. He is asking for power. She senses it and loses interest. The second man says it slowly, with calmness, as if he is simply stating a fact. His frame is strong. He is not asking for anything. He is offering something. And she leans in because his presence feels like power. This is why frame matters more than words. It is not what you say, it is the position you say it from. Most men give away the frame without knowing. They step into her world, follow her lead, and try to fit in. In doing so, they hand her control. They speak as if they need permission, as if they are waiting for her to decide whether they are worthy, and once you surrender the frame, you surrender attraction. But the man who keeps his frame never asks for approval. He never speaks like a guest in her world. He speaks as a man who already carries value, who already holds power, who already knows his worth. And because he does not ask for it, she feels it more. Machiavelli knew this principle well. Power belongs not to the loudest, but to the one who shapes the stage others must perform on. That is what frame is. You are not chasing her attention. You are creating the reality she must respond to. So never speak as the man begging for power. Speak as the man who already has it. Because in the end, the one who controls the frame controls everything. Mystery is fuel. What truly feeds desire is not what is said, but what is left unsaid. It is not the clear answers that make her restless at night. It is the unanswered questions. Never give everything away. Never explain yourself completely. Never reveal all of your thoughts or intentions. Leave silence. Leave pauses. Leave questions hanging in the air like smoke. Because mystery is the food of desire. When she cannot classify you, when she cannot predict you, when she cannot fully understand you, her imagination begins to work harder. And what she imagines is always stronger, more vivid, and more intoxicating than anything you could have told her directly. Think of it this way. If she knows everything about you in the first hour, then she stops imagining you the next. The mystery dies, and with it, the fire of attraction. But if you remain partly hidden, if there are pieces of you she cannot read, then her mind becomes your ally. She fills in the blanks, she builds stories, she creates her own version of you, and this imagined version is always more powerful than the truth. This is why the men who rush to explain themselves, to prove themselves, to clarify everything are forgotten. They leave no space for curiosity. They kill the tension. They silence her imagination. But the men who understand the law of mystery move differently. They know that silence can say more than words. They know that a look held too long, or a half-finished sentence, or a small smile without explanation can linger for days in her thoughts. Machiavelli understood this principle in power and in seduction. The less you reveal, the more people imagine. The more they imagine, the more they invest. And the more they invest, the more they cannot let go. This is why women often say, "There's something about him I can't explain." That something is not an accident, it is mystery. It is the deliberate choice to remain partly unseen, partly untouchable. So never aim to be fully understood. Aim to be unforgettable. Because when she knows everything, She stops imagining you. But when she doesn't know enough, her mind works for you. And in that silent struggle between curiosity and desire, she falls deeper without even realizing why. Mystery is not weakness. Mystery is strategy. And mystery is fuel. The art of impact. Seduction is not about convincing. It is not about proving yourself or speaking endlessly to show value. It is not about trying to impress her with clever lines or fancy compliments. Seduction is something far more subtle. It is about creating an emotional field, a space around you where she feels something she cannot explain. It is that shift when her mind stops analyzing and her heart starts reacting. When her thoughts grow quiet, but her feelings grow louder. When she is no longer thinking about your words, but about you. This is the art Machiavelli understood well. The most powerful move is not to announce, but to suggest. Not to force, but to imply. Not to push, but to provoke. When you try to convince, you lose power. Because convincing always reveals need. It tells her that you are waiting for her approval. And once you wait for approval, you have already lost the frame. But when you suggest instead of declare, when you leave something half said, when you use pauses and silence to make her imagine, you create impact. Think about it. One man says directly, "I want you." His words are clear, but they die quickly. Another man looks at her with calm eyes, holds a pause, then says quietly, "You have no idea what went through my mind when you walked in." Nothing is declared. Nothing is explained. Yet she feels it stronger. Why? Because her imagination begins to finish the story. And what she imagines is always more powerful than what you could say outright. That is impact. Impact is not about more words. It is about fewer words, spoken with weight. It is about silence that feels heavy, as if it carries meaning. It is about rhythm, knowing when to slow down, when to let the air thicken, when to make her wait for the next word. When you master this, you no longer compete for her attention. You no longer fight to be noticed. You simply are. Your presence becomes louder than noise. Your pauses feel stronger than other men's desperate speeches. And she will remember you, not because of what you said, but because of what she felt without explanation. This is the art of impact. It is not about pushing her to believe. It is about leaving her no choice but to feel. And the man who understands this does not chase seduction. He becomes it. Becoming unforgettable. Any man can talk. Few men can create impact. If you want to be remembered, do not give her all the answers. Give her questions. Leave her with doubts. Plant curiosity. One phrase said with mystery will linger longer than 100 desperate confessions. She may forget your face. She may forget your name. But she will never forget how you made her feel. Final revelation. This is the silent law of desire. True attraction is not born in clarity, but in ambiguity. It is not born in what you declare, but in what you awaken. Desire lives in the pauses, in the tone, in the silence that touches her mind before her skin. Master this, and you will stop being just another man. You will become an enigma, an echo she cannot erase, a shadow she cannot ignore.